George Kilpatrick Inspiration for the Nation, celebrating people we feel good about. We've got 4 dynamic sisters in the house today. We are pleased to be joined. They're all Black women in politics, and this is Women's History Month. And they all are part of history in some way, shape, form, or another. Try to get my microphone to do what I want it to do. Here we go. So we're joined by Assembly Member Pamela Hunter. Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Good.
We're also joined by County Legislator. Both of these, by the way, are my elected representatives. So, I can ask them what I want to ask them. Linda Ervin, also, thank you for joining us. Helen Hudson with the Syracuse Common Council. You're president, aren't you? Aren't you the
Yes.
president of the Common Council? Yes.
Yes.
Making a difference. So that's a little history there. And of course, Latoya Allen, she's representing the 4th Common Council District. How are y'all doing today?
Great.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Good, George. Good. Beautiful day out.
Yes.
So Black women have arrived, right? All y'all elected, y'all power, state, county, city. We've arrived, right?
We've been
arrived.
here. People just
Right.
noticing.
I'm trying to figure out what power he's talking about.
I don't know either.
All right, so let me start with Pam, Assembly Member Hunter. See, I know y'all too well, and I'm gonna slip up. So just let y'all know these are.
It's okay, we're amongst friends.
Okay, all right. So I'm giving them all the honorifics, but if I slip up, it's please. What do they say? Charge it to my heart, not to my head, or whatever it is. Okay. So you said we've been here. Talk to me about that.
We have been here. I think now more than ever, you've seen a lot of the national stage with Stacey Abrams and our new Vice President Kamala Harris. But we have been working and moving this country forward since its inception. And I don't think that we should forget about our history. We birthed the nation. We're the ones who birthed sons who plowed the fields and built the houses. And I think it's important for us to not forget that we're here where we are now because of those before us.
Well, let me take it a step further. We're here where we are now because it's safe to say that Black women saved this country from the tyranny of another term of Trump. I'm saying that partisan. Y'all could do what y'all want to do with that. But Black women essentially saved this country. Am I overboard with that?
No, continue to do it.
It's overboard.
Yes, talk to me, Linda.
Because when you talk about Black women and us being here, we've always been here. When you talk about SNCC, when you talk about the Civil Rights Movement, when you talk about the NAACP, the women were in the forefront. You just didn't see them. They put the men in the front. So we've always been here.
Exactly. And I'm wearing my Shirley Chisholm shirt this morning because she was the first one. We just tend to forget about her talking about, the presidency run. I mean, she ran when she had the audacity to think that she could win, and she put us forward. She made it seem that women could do what she was doing.
Absolutely.
So let me go and Latoya, let me start with you. How did you decide to get into politics?
Sure. When I first was introduced to politics, it was very new to me. I wasn't raised where we talked about politics, we talked about government. It wasn't a household conversation in my family. So when I was first initially introduced to it, I just thought that it was something separate from me. I didn't see myself as a part of politics, as a part of government then. When I first was introduced, I believe I was about 29 years old. And it was very different just coming in, especially coming into the Democratic Party and then just seeing how things worked and how people actually got elected and then what they actually did once they were elected. It was intriguing to me. I knew that there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to do to help my community, but I really didn't know, like which avenues to go or what to do. And then once I started getting involved in politics, I realized that that was a way to be able to help my community from a different level. So it wasn't about me making a lot of money and being able to pour money into my community, but just being connected to certain people, to organizations, and having that connection between government and my community. I knew that that was something that I could do, and then also help my community. Because I'm the 4th district counselor, a lot of the people that I represent are like, they're my family and my friends and people I went to high school with. And so I see people when I'm taking my trash out, when I go to the grocery store, when I go to the bank, when I'm at my kids' school. So a lot of it is like, I'm not just representing this district, like I'm representing my family and my friends. And that has always, like kept me grounded, because I'm not going to do something that I know is going to directly harm my friends and my family. You know what I mean? And so when I'm making decisions and I'm thinking about legislation and I'm voting on something, I'm not looking at it as a number or a sentence or a paragraph. Like, I'm literally picturing people that I know personally. And how our people are, like, they're gonna hold you accountable. Like my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, like this, they don't hold anything back. My mom. So if I say something or do something and it appears in the newspaper or it's on social media, I'm going to be held accountable for that from people in the public, but then also my family and my friends. So I always just try to keep that in the forefront of my thoughts when I'm doing my work.
Was there a moment for you that said, I got to get involved in this work?
I don't really think there was this aha moment. It was a bunch of different things. It was a bunch of different things. A lot of different people. I have 2 kids. I have 2 boys. And a lot of it was based off of them and what I wanted for them, but then also for all the other people that live in my neighborhood. So it really wasn't like this one big moment. It was just a bunch of different things. And for me, it was more so, I knew that somebody had to be in that seat that would be able to listen to people, but also really understand where people was coming from, and then being able to go into these rooms and go into these meetings and talk to people that didn't look like me, didn't act like me, didn't believe what I believed in, but be able to persuade them to change their perception of my neighborhood, because a lot of these people had the information that we needed, but they also have the resources that we need as well. So it's a matter of being able to go into rooms and tell them what we need, and then be able to go back to the community and tell them, this is what we need, this is what we need to do, this is what I need you to do, and then I'll bring this back to the people that actually have the resources to get it done.
I hear that. And Helen, obviously we know a lot about the activism that brought you to the council, but what brought you to the council? I'm saying that, but there might be one person that doesn't know.
Well, I'm kind of in the same vein as Councilor Allen. Yeah, I'm a community activist. I was out there with mothers, and that garnered a lot of attention. And then I was approached because I've noticed with white people, if they see that you can bring together people, you scare them. So they'd rather pull you to the side with them than to have you out there renegade.
Y'all all shaking your heads. Look at y'all. Okay. All right. Tell it.
So I was approached and asked about becoming part of the council. And I never thought about it. I went back home. I talked to my family members. A lot of them said, yeah. But then I had a sister who was a Syracuse police officer, and she knew the politics. And she kept telling me, no, don't do it. And I went against her wishes and I did it. And I'm glad I did, because it gives me an opportunity, again, to be in rooms that most of us are not even allowed to be in. It gives me an opportunity to speak my piece, even when people don't know where I'm coming from. It gives me an opportunity to fight for the things, as Councilor Allen said, that I know are so desperately needed in some of these depressed communities. So I thought about it. I said, well, you purchased a house at 29 years old. You've been able to hold your house for almost 30 years. You've paid your bills. And that's basically what this is, overseeing the city finances and running, making sure everything runs right. So if I can oversee my own life and make sure everything is running right, I was like, how bad can I do there? So here I am.
That's Councilor Helen Hudson, Latoya Allen, Councilor Latoya Allen, Assembly Member Pam Hunter, and of course Linda Ervin, Onondaga County Legislator, and my neighbor, by the way, right?
Yes, yes.
My neighbor, by the way.
Yeah.
So Linda, talk to me about, first of all, you politics in the suburbs. I wanted to speak to you about that particular because you were once president of the Janesville DeWitt School Board and believe that was history making at the time. And of course, then went on to the county ledge.
Yeah, exactly. I got involved simply because of my children and their friends. When I got into the school district here in JD, it was a different area, for a lot of people who looked like me. There weren't that many of us here, and the kids were being treated differently. There were conversations at school about the kids from the gardens. So
The
Springfield
gardens.
Gardens kids were
Yeah.
handled differently than other kids.
Mhm.
And then as well, poor whites, the kids in the Ville, people who lived in Jamesville Village, it's not really a village, but they call it that,
Right.
were treated differently as well. And so I was part of the PTO and got involved and had to push them to do Black History things every February, which was kind of crazy, but they didn't do it then. And so I would bring the materials to them. Every year I'd bring materials to the teachers of my kids to be able to do something because they said they didn't know what I'm talking about, even though it was a state mandate, but okay, fine. So I'd bring stuff to them and then they would pick on my children to answer the questions, which was a problem. But anyway, long story short, because of all of that activism in the schools, I kept thinking, well, something has to change here because I'm not changing it from this level. So I ran for the school board. And it was kind of interesting because no one had done it before of color. And, I got the most votes of anybody that year because I went out to people who looked like me who never voted. They didn't think anything about school board before that. And so they all came out and it was a grassroots kind of thing, handing out little flyers and whatnot. And they all came out and voted and I won. So from that point forward, sitting at that table was something that they were not prepared for. I said to one time, I said to one of the people sitting next to me, if you were in a building all day long in a building where no one looked like you, how would you feel?
Mm-hmm.
So now put yourself back to being, 6 years old. You're in a building all day. Nobody looks like you. I said, that's the problem we have in this district. I said, we have no one of color teaching in this district. No one as a principal, vice principal.
Mm-hmm.
We had only one bus driver.
Then, right? Yeah,
back then. We
Yeah.
had one bus driver back then and one coach who didn't act like he was Black, and that was it. And so they kept thinking, well, I kept saying we got to recruit, go someplace. Don't just go to Cortland and get the same kids that graduated from JD with their hats turned backwards and hire them. Go someplace else and look for people who look like me. But it was difficult to get folks to move here. I was recruiting people that were already working in the city schools, and they were saying, well, the city kids need us more than these kids out here need you. But they really did. These kids needed them more than they thought they did. So I was able to at least get a few people to come out to JD, and that was my goal, to get somebody to work there who looked like me and to change the perception. And it was a long run. I didn't intend to be there for 12 years, but I could not accomplish everything I wanted to until that long, But I'm telling you, there was one principal who said to me, I'm not sure why you're complaining about this. We had other Black parents, he didn't use the word Black, but Black parents who their kids were fine and they were happy here. And the reason I went to see him was because one of my son's friends who lived in Springfield Gardens had been ostracized because he came to school with his hat on, which was a no-no, and they approached him the wrong way about taking his hat off. So he reacted, as sometimes we do, And so I went to talk about that, and they were saying to me, well, no one else ever had a problem here. And I'm like, well, I don't know why that is. I said, because I know some of the Black parents whose kids, they took their kids out of this district, sent their kids to prep school because they weren't happy. I said, so you don't know all of what you think you know.
Right.
So it was that kind of a thing. They told one English teacher said my son was doing fine. He was doing better than his friends. I said, no. We strive for excellence in my household. It's not he's doing better than. He should be doing as best as he can,
As best as he can.
It was that struggle. And so I stayed at JD on the school board for 12 years to make sure that somebody came behind me and that something else changed about the way they thought about things. And it was a turbulent time because as president, you might remember, they had a little altercation that they called a riot, which was really not a riot. And they wanted me to control things. And then the Black parents who never came out before came to me like, well, do something, so it was that kind of thing. But I don't regret it at all. And that was my first foray into politics, because really that was I had no idea about doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, and so and of course from your legacy, 2 other women of color have served on the Janesville board, Janesville
Yes,
DeWitt
and
School Board.
I'm recruiting now for somebody to run again because we need more.
We need that
I keep
voice.
asking you, but you keep saying no, but it's okay, George.
One of these days. Well, listen, and of course, right now the conversation at JD is about whether to have an SRO or not, and you and I were on
Yeah,
that
we know all
task
about
force.
that, don't we?
Yeah, we do. So Assembly Member Hunter, you are also a veteran. Tell me about your foray into political life, and then we'll talk about some of the issues that all of us are facing right now.
You know, I always was a policy wonk. I always thought that I was going to be like Donna Brazile, you know, in the background and being able to move in and shape policy. I moved to the Syracuse area from the Washington, D.C. area, but I am from New York. And, you know, really it was about my son and, you know, his generation. And I continued to do this work for him. I did serve in the United States Army, and I was stationed in Virginia and stayed there, you know, lived in the Washington, D.C. area. My husband is from Syracuse, a lifelong resident in Syracuse, you know, graduated from Nottingham. We live on the east side, go Bulldogs. And so, you know, I live vicariously like this is my hometown because a lot of the, you know, the folks that he knew and graduated with are still our friends and, you know, come by and we see them. But it's always been really being able to, you know, shape policy, make decisions for the future. Our young people are our future. And I just saw a need at the time, you know, not that anybody was doing anything so horribly wrong, but I could sit back and be one of those armchair quarterbacks and always complain and not do anything, or given an opportunity, you know, step forward and be able to do some things. And I like to be able to say that, you know, I have a record, you know, that I've been able to shape some policy, even when I was in the city council and even, you know, at the state, some big pieces of legislation that hopefully will change and transform our lives. But it doesn't end. For one great win that you have, you know, making a great piece of legislation and getting it passed and bringing resources, i.e. money, you know, back to the district, that's just, it's like scraps almost compared to the just enormous need that our community faces. And, you know, while my district is very diverse, urban, suburban, rural, and the Onondaga Nation, you know, everybody wants the same best quality of life. They want quality education for their children. They want to have, you know, quality neighborhoods where, you know, the streets aren't horrible and that people feel safe and that the police come when, you know, they're called and wanting to feel that, you know, that the money they pay in taxes are a benefit to their life. And that's a balance, you know, that's a current balance. And it's difficult, you know, every day it's a fight. You wake up and you put your boxing gloves on and you get out there and you get going and the bell dings and then you go out there and fight the best that you possibly can for your community because they need us. And while we may not talk to everyone all the time, they know that the 4 of us are in their corner, you know, and we surround them in all parts of it, you know, coming from the east side and the west side and the south side. I mean, we got them covered. Seriously, logistically and geographically, we have them surrounded and we're, you know, here to help, but it doesn't end. And having the support, you know, of the ladies here is very important. And there's an opportunity for us to interact at different levels. But really it is just shaping and being able to move things forward the best that we can and being a resource to each other and others out there in the community.
And George, before you go back, can I just add this on? Because when you look at the 4 of us, we are showing little brown and black girls that you can do and you can be anything you choose to be, regardless of your circumstance.
Exactly.
I just had to add that.
You can see it, you can be
because
it.
I mean, you can, George, you know, I grew up downstate, as I told you before, but, you know, I grew up in the housing project in Tuckahoe, which is in Westchester County, which is an affluent county, but we were known by no means affluent where I lived. And my little 10-block area was all I knew. I mean, I knew 10 blocks. I went to school, went to church, went to the grocery store, went to the bank, you know, that was my world. I never thought I'd be out of that world at all until some people encouraged me to go further. But there are kids here who are the same way. there are kids here who their world is around where they live, and they don't know what they can become. And so we do show them that they can do that. And I didn't have a woman of color who was doing what I'm doing now at home, but I had women who were supporting me and pushing me forward because they knew I could do more than I was planning to do. I had no clue. My world was that little world. Right. And I thought that was all I had to aspire to. But they pushed me further to go into other worlds and took me places that I would never have gone to otherwise, and made me go away to school. I mean, I wasn't thinking about leaving my little cocoon to go anyplace, but they made me come to Syracuse. And that was the biggest thing that helped me become the person that I am. And if we can do that for somebody else, then that's what we're all about.
And that's Linda Ervin, Pam Hunter, Latoya Allen, Helen Hudson. The thing is, and all of y'all are like in the community, right? Like this is not like, y'all people. It's not like, oh, where's Pam? No, we know we see y'all in community and in spaces. Let me talk quickly with a few things, rapid fire here. COVID-19, obviously, the devastating impact that it's had on. I always got to take a breath when I talk about COVID, but based on my own circumstance. But we know that the vaccine's out, and we've been impacted, me personally as well, by COVID by far greater percentage because of pre-existing conditions in our community. Now the vaccine is more widely available. What's your message to the community about the vaccine?
Do you want to go first, George?
Go ahead, Helen.
I'm just going to say this because I was one of the skeptical people.
Okay? Thank you for that. Okay, yes.
But then I looked at it and I waited because I have underlying conditions. And not to mention that I have an 84-year-old mother that I'm caring for. So I weighed out the balances on the pros and the cons, and I go and get my second vaccine on Sunday, actually. So my thing is this: I talk to a lot of young people, and I hear people say, well, you and the other Black electeds, you need to go out there and tell them to get vaccinated. Well, you know what? I read the Facebook posts. I had one young lady say, love Ms. Hudson to death. Don't care if her and every Black elected get vaccinated, not gonna make me do it. Mm-hmm. So what I've found is you can keep giving information, which I will continue to share. Mm-hmm. And I will gently, if you ask me, give you my thoughts, but I will not tell anyone that this is what you need to do, because that's not my place. And they have to feel it within themselves to take that leap and to do that, because no one could have told me. I had to make up my own mind to go and take the vaccine. So I'm just going to say a little gentle encouragement continuously. It starts because I've had people calling me and they weren't going to do it. Guess what? They're showing me their vaccination cards. Nice. So just encouragement.
Yeah. Latoya, you were smiling. Why?
Yeah, because I feel the same way as far as like, I'm not in the medical field. And who am I to tell you what to do with your body and how you should make health decisions for your body and for you and your family. Anything that I do, whether it's health related or work or anything, like I always research stuff on my own. So I would encourage people to do the same thing. Research the information, talk to your doctor, talk to people that have already had it done. But I wouldn't, my opinion on your health doesn't weigh as much. You know what I mean?
And see too, so what about you, Pam?
I think it's a fine line because there's an expectation that we have an obligation to the community, which we do, to make sure they have as much information as possible and enough accurate information as possible. And it's very difficult when historically there has been a lot of trouble with our community and vaccinations, and then starting this pandemic with federal leadership that didn't take care in making sure the information that we received is correct. So now we're having a situation where we're asking people, please go out there and get vaccinated. It's safe. But we need to make sure that when we're in the community having these conversations, it's a calm conversation with facts. And I think when you're like, do it, you have to do it. I'm sick and tired of wearing my mask. And if everybody does it, then we can just get back to normal. Well, if normal was before the pandemic, we don't need to be there, because normal was a lot of struggle and strife in our community, you know, high levels of poverty, high levels of crime. I'm not trying to go back there. I'm trying to get better than where we were before. But I think it's very important that when we're having conversations with communities of color, that it's not like we're parrots standing there saying, if we do it, you know, you can do it. I don't think that's necessarily the narrative. I think that, you know, well, if we get out there as electeds, or if you get the pastors out there and show that, you know, you're leaders in the community, so you're getting it, you know, then we should get it too. I think people are, I want to say, more savvy than that. They want to be able to get information a little bit more broadly than just saying, well, you know, if Beyonce got it, then I'm going to get it too. You know, maybe some people live in that world, but this is very serious. We're talking about a medical situation. You know, someone got polio, someone, you know, is getting the measles shot. This is talking about years and years and tried and tested. And we're talking about something within a year, and people should rightfully be concerned. But like Latoya said, get your facts and then get out there and make the decision for you. But, you know, based on all of the information that's out there, it has been safe. And for me, I want to make sure that I'm protecting against ever doing anything to harm anyone else. So it's not necessarily selfishness for myself. Like Helen was saying, if you have, you know, comorbidities, or you have an elderly, you know, parent, grandparent, or whatnot, it's trying to protect our community.
Linda, what do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I've encouraged people to speak with their physicians, you know, check to make sure that the medications that they're taking for other illnesses that they have won't conflict with this, and to get the facts before they make a decision. But I do encourage people to think about it, because when I talk to my doctors, they said, look, I'd rather you have side effects from this shot than for you to get COVID and die. And and they laid it out strictly like that. And I have some underlying issues as well. And so once they said that to me, and I've also been watching, you know, the advocates that are talking about this, and Dr. Sharon Brangman has been very clear on the fact that it's not going to be detrimental to us, and that we should be taking advantage of it. So I give information. I encourage folks to take advantage of the opportunities to get the shots. And I try to make sure that they're putting these pop-up clinics in our area that people can feel comfortable when they go. So yeah, I think it's our role to make sure that things are presented for folks to be able to take advantage of them, and then to encourage them to do the research. And certainly it's a personal decision. What I want to do, I can't say Helen wants to do, but I can certainly say to Helen, this is what I found out about it, you know, check it out. You know?
Yeah, and I respect all of your opinions about this. I've been telling people to get it. And you know why? Because Dr. Sharon Brangman told me so. And that's basically it. Yeah. And I trust her. And I know that that's not enough for a lot of folks, but Sharon Brangman looks like me. She can articulate all of the concerns that we have, and all of the stuff that y'all talked about. And then also, Black folk are dying. So here it's the catch-22. Mm-hmm. Either we're gonna allow our community to die, or we're gonna give them, because here's the other piece. While we're not getting it, people are coming in and jumping the line and getting it in our community because we don't want it. So I'm not gonna try to front and say it, and I'm trying to lay back. I'm saying to folks, and I actually, you know, did it on social media and let people see me getting it, because I wanted people to have that assurance. But I'm not, Dr. Sharon Brangman is wrong, I'm in trouble. But no, I trust her.
George, but let me just say, I definitely feel that, you know, having strong advocacy is certainly important. And the doc, she's got it going on. She's very, very intelligent. You know, what she's talking about. But we would be remiss if we didn't, you know, have a broader conversation about access and healthcare, because we're only just talking about one thing. And if it truly is that we disproportionately have higher death rates because of comorbidities, that is the issue.
Truth.
Yes, the pandemic is an issue now, but
now let's look at the diabetes and the hypertension and
all the other health factors.
Yeah, right. Let's look at all of that, because after this, will there be more pop-up clinics for testing and all of these other kinds of things? Holler at me. I hear you on that. So quickly, We got money coming in from the state, I'm sorry, from the federal government potentially. Pam, your Assembly Member Hunter, you're in the budget you're taking a minute to talk to us. You're in the midst of that budget conversation because you got to get a budget done. You know, the city is in arrears, the county, everybody's hurting, right? So what's your hope for this this package, and what's it going to mean for families here in the districts that you all represent?
You know, I think it'll be transformative. I just, you know, I always caution that, you know, this is not like getting the lotto, you know, and you see some of those reality TV shows where people win the lottery and then in a year, you know, they're living in, you know, the, you know, situation where they don't have a dime left. And I think that it's about making smart, you know, decisions. But I will always, you know, say, you know, whatever you're spending, plan for the future. This is one-time money, and it's because of a pandemic. It's not, you know, because we've had some great windfall from, you know, imports or from, you know, exports, and we just made a lot of money. That this is because of a serious health condition. And so I just caution, you know, yes, this is great because it can be transformative. Some communities, I saw the numbers for, you know, all of the towns and municipalities across the state. Some people are getting equivalent to their annual budget in money. And I think that's, you know, amazing. But, you know, if we're thinking about these are great projects and let's start them foundationally, just like with our bodies, it starts from the root, from the bottom. You have to start from the bottom. So if that means stuff's not sexy, it's not brand new. If you're talking about new pipes, you know, new water, new structure, the foundation of, you know, what we need going forward. If you're talking about let's have new buildings and new, that's not going to solve the issues going forward. And that's just putting more lipstick on, you know, the pig. And our neighborhoods desperately need assistance more than ever before. So before I see anything new, I would hope to see that things that have needed to be fixed get fixed, you know, quite honestly, and a good chunk of that money needs to be saved for the future.
I understand. I appreciate that. Quickly, should Governor Cuomo be impeached over the sexual harassment allegations? Assemblymember Hunter.
Well, you know, I think that when we are asked that question, I, you know, kind of take some offense because I don't think it's up to women and Black women. You know, we started the conversation with we're leading and, you know, the foundation that we have to be the answer of salvation. We don't owe anyone an answer, you know, relative to that. I guess people want my personal opinion, but I'm a representative for 130,000, you know, people that are very diverse and have diverse backgrounds. You know, I made a statement to the newspaper. I have professional experience in HR for many years, and, you know, we did investigations, and then you go forward, you know, from there. But I definitely feel that's a wrong question to ask people. I think that, you know, in the society, we just want to put, you know, these are the yeses and these are the nos. But I just think that the conversation is absolutely wrong. It shouldn't be boxing women into a corner, you know, saying what should, you know, the person who did something wrong do. We have a judicial and due process to make sure someone figures that out.
You're going to have a voice, though. I mean, you will potentially have a voice in this decision.
No, I won't. The voters of the New York State had a voice. I suppose if charges were brought and there were impeachment articles brought to the assembly floor, at that point I would, but I don't have a voice in asking or telling the governor to resign. You know, it's just like somebody asking me to resign. It's up to me entirely to say I'm going to do it or not.
But it's interesting you and the background on all this, most of you have shared that view, but it's interesting at the same time, when you talk about Black women and the protections that they deserve, it would seem to me that you would be concerned as women about how women are treated, especially since Black women often aren't offered those same kind of
still aren't.
Okay, so I'm saying I'm
I don't
trying
think
to.
this is about. I think you're conflating two things. I don't think.
Okay, holler at me because I'm trying to understand.
It's taking away from someone having allegations or personally being sexually harassed or assaulted, and I have been very open saying I have been both. And so
Right.
to me, but this is not about my personal story. Someone has courage to bring it forward. They can say, you know, their information, they bring it forward, just like where you work, George, you know, when they have comfort to be able to bring it forward, and then the steps happen from there. We have an attorney general. She is going to do an investigation. There is due process. But I definitely don't think, yes, you know, women have a right, and men, anybody who brings forward an allegation definitely has a right to bring that forward and have their voice. And there is due process. And let me just say, you know, this is not the same, you know, equation, but there's something very similar. You know, I think as Black women, they're more forgiving than anyone, because we have seen our sons, you know, charged and alleged with different things at many different times, when you're just saying, just give them a chance and investigate, give us due process, make sure that we have all the facts before we storm through and either be charged. We have young people just, you know, taking pleas because they're worried about, you know, getting higher charges, or they're being killed. You know, Khalif Browder sat there for allegations in jail until he killed himself. So we need to be a little more responsible. And when we answer questions like this, and when we ask questions like this, to make sure that it's not insulting, you know, obviously the women who are bringing the allegations forward, because like I said, it's very serious, very important. I have been on the record saying that absolutely it should be investigated. And for the people to do that, that's their responsibility to do that. But it's not on us women, you know, to be the judge, jury, and executioner saying, men, you know, who did this, they should resign. You know, this is the cancel culture, and I'm not a part of that. I'm not willing to step out there and say, you should, it should be investigated, and I've been very clear about that.
Okay. Anybody want to add anything, or do y'all just want to, you know, two thumbs
I'm just gonna say ditto, Assemblywoman Hunter.
And you know, listen, we went through this in our own community with this just not too long ago, so I understand the points that you're trying to make. Quickly. I know if anybody has to go, just one more thing: race and racism in our community. We've seen. We had Black Lives Matter all summer. Are we better at police reform and all of these things in the city? We're trying to understand all of this. Where any hopes in this conversation?
Well, there's always hope, George. There's always hope, and clearly, at least at this point, the curtains are open more than they were before. Mm-hmm. So people are paying more attention than they were before. I'm just concerned that we get to the point of this being like the catchphrase and nobody's doing anything about it. You know, that's my real concern at this point. So doing something about it is more important than anything else at this point going forward. We've got people working on police reform. We just did the plan for the county. Going to send it to the governor. But like I said yesterday at the meeting, that plan can't be on the shelf and nothing happens after this. That we have to say, okay, we're done now and forget about it, because things have to happen, things have to change. And so it's up to all of us, you know, not just us elected officials, but all of us to make sure that going forward, things do happen. Because we can see historically, you know, everybody gets excited about something and then it goes away. You know, when the excitement is over with, people forget about it and they go back to doing what they used to do. And we can't afford that to happen this time. This is a time in history that we have to go forward and make sure it keeps going the right way. And it's very, very, very important for us to make sure that our children see that as well, because they're depending upon us to do this. And we cannot say to them 10 years from now, well, you know, we forgot about it. No, we can't forget about it. It's too important for that. I mean, even just police reform is just so big that we can't really get our arms around it. But just look at what happened in Jamesville the other day. I mean,
I was going to ask you about that. This is right here.
Situation, and of course, we don't know everything about it. We don't know all the details.
So let me just give it quick. So emotionally disturbed man, teenager, police were called. He ends up dead.
And they were told that he had an air gun. They were told this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm still trying to figure out how he ends up dead and how we don't know anything, and how the 4 different agencies and how they fight. Because I thought the reason why you have the emotional support team respond is to prevent law enforcement. That's just, I'm still trying to wrap my head around.
He had
But look at
He
that,
had a
George.
view.
Look at that. It goes to investigation. And guess who's leading the charge? Our very own Attorney General, Tish
Yeah.
James.
Tish James, she's gonna be
So
on that.
We'll get the details certainly, but it appears that there were some mistakes along the way, obviously, because
Yeah,
I mean, how can state troopers, sheriff, and the DeWitt police all be there for one single kid who has a
17.
gun?
and they all allegedly fired, but that's a whole, you know, we're just
But there
trying to.
has to be more to the story, and I'm sure we'll find out more along the way. But just the fact that that can happen is something that we should be concerned about. Everybody should be concerned about it. And then when you change it over to people of color being in that situation, people don't ask any questions.
Right.
You know, it sort of
Okay.
happens. Nobody asks any questions. You know?
Right. In other words, well, in fact, first of all, and our condolences to the mom who called to get help, and now, you know, but how many Black women, how many Black parents, and I'm not trying to conflate and minimize the pain of this mom, but just the idea of that. But your point is, we got a lot of work to do right here in this community. Latoya and Helen, Councilor Allen, Councilor Hudson, what can we look forward to hope-wise? I'll give you the last opportunity before we shut it down.
So first, just back to your original question about this topic, are we better? I wouldn't say that we're better now. Everything is still fresh. People are still just now realizing the state of the racism that we're still dealing with, especially here in the city of Syracuse and Onondaga County. So I wouldn't say that we're better, but it's a good opportunity now because the spotlight is on the racism that we deal with every single day.
Sure.
And so we're not necessarily better, but it's literally right here staring in our face. And so like Linda Ervin said, like, this is an opportunity for us to act now. We deal with this type of stuff every day. When I go to the store, if I have on a hoodie, some jeans, and some Timbs, and my hair in a ponytail, I'm not Councilor Allen. I'm just this young Black girl at the store. So I see this all the time. If I'm driving, I still get pulled over by the cops. You know what I mean? And I'm not treated special. You know what I mean? I still see the racism every single day. So, and this is after the whole Black Lives Matter movement and the marches. It's still happening every single day. So, like I said, I don't believe that we're better, but we're in a position to where we have to make sure that people individually get better. Collectively, we're not going to get better if people individually don't change their mindset and they don't change their perception of other people. So I think it's a matter of when people always think like, you know, you have to change the entire city or you have to change whole New York State. That's never going to happen. People individually have to choose to be better. They have to choose to respect other individuals. They have to choose to acknowledge that people are different. You know what I mean? And treat people the way that they are in their own space and not try to just force people into this box for them to behave the way they want to behave. And of course, there's always hope. Like every single day you wake up, it's a new day. I tell my kids that all the time, whether you had a bad day yesterday, whatever, a bad moment, the next day is a reset. And you never truly have a bad day. You may have bad moments, but the whole day can't be bad, right? So you have bad moments, you move on from it, you learn from it, you move on from it. And for me, that gives me hope. Every single day gives me hope that whatever I did wrong yesterday, I'm gonna try to do it right today.
Amen.
And I'm going to answer that to George. I'm going to kind of go back to where Assemblywoman Hunter went with the racism. It's not the onus of us to try to change the racism.
Go ahead, talk to me.
Because when you're talking about racism in Onondaga County, the new buzzwords are diversity and equity.
Okay? And inclusion.
And inclusion.
Right.
And they're always looking for finding the Black person, which I didn't know we were so hard to find.
Right.
And I'm just sitting back. And the way I look at it, and it's just me. In Onondaga County, I've been here my whole life.
Right.
It feels like you're constantly pulling the onion. You're pulling the layer, you're pulling the layer, you're pulling the layer. And every time you pull a layer, you just come up with some new stuff. And then you pull a little more layer and you come up with some new stuff. Then everybody starts talking a good show. And then they want Black folks to sit in diversity training. I'm not doing it. I don't need to be trained
It's not,
diversely.
y'all go ahead and do your work and then come back and talk to me is what you say.
Talk to me, okay?
After you, but
And
go do
talk
some
to
work.
us.
Now look, the United Way has their 21-day racial equity challenge.
I didn't do it.
But I'm saying there is work. If you need resources, I'm talking to, you know, other folk that might need, you know what I mean? If you need resources, United Way has this whole, she ain't do it. They got a racial equity challenge. There's basically what Councilor Hudson is saying is, I ain't doing y'all work for y'all no more. That's
Nope.
and I'm in the vernacular,
No, but
if
when
you
you
will.
talk to people with all the jobs going around here, then out here, well, we can't find a Black person to fill that position. Come on,
Yeah,
man.
you ain't looking
Come on,
real-
man. We
you
Or
are
ain't
they
really looking-
call
engineers.
you and want to
Listen.
know, do you know any people of color to be on a board?
Yeah.
Are you
that's-
serious?
Linda and I have been going through this for almost 20
time.
years.
No, but Linda is on every board, so there you go.
She is. That's how I got to be on them, because she was calling me.
There
Linda
will come
is.
a time when I won't be on all those boards. Somebody else has to come behind
I'm
me.
gonna say, but don't trip. Linda is on all of those boards. Don't even trip.
But the youngest one on this line is Councilor Allen.
Alan,
So
yes.
I'm at the point now, I've been in public service, even with my activism, for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
I'm exhausted. These aren't high profile jobs that you get a whole bunch of money. We just got a raise after how many, 20, 30 years on the
Right.
council? Our jobs are considered part-time, number one, but we're expected to do 30 hours a week.
Right.
So if you have a 40-hour job,
But you
you're
do more
looking
than
at
30
70 hours a week. I'm exhausted.
All right. Well,
Okay.
well, you know what? We could go on and on, but I know all of y'all got stuff to do. So let me just say thank you to Councilor Helen Hudson, Syracuse Common Council President, 4th District Councilor Latoya Allen. Thank you. Onondaga County Legislator Linda Ervin. Thank you. And Assembly Member Pam Hunter. Bring that bacon home.
Good to see my sisters.
Thank you.
Haven't seen y'all in a
Listen,
while. It's so
Was this
to
good for
see
y'all?
everybody.
Was this good for
Yeah, it
y'all?
was.
Please come back. We just getting started. We just getting started, but I know all y'all got to go. We appreciate you. Inspiration for the Nation. Black women empower. I know y'all say, well, what's the power? Well, listen, y'all are some powerful sisters, and I'm claiming that and acknowledging that. And thank you for joining us. Inspiration for the Nation.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you,
for having me.
George.
Have a great day.